are also built into the ground. So this is sort of the top arc of that metal hill, and this would be ground level. And then, so there's a main exhibition space, and then below it another one. This is a view of the space, which is why I called my lecture the Talk, and it seemed very appropriate that we're at the Fest. Tear Dad approached an artist, Ethan Breckenridge. I don't know if he went to the Art Institute, but he's been in Chicago for a while, and he knew some of the same Chicago people I know. But now he's based in New York and does sort of architectural installations. It's called the Space because it's this space for the Summer Academy to take place within this larger room, the Forum, which is kind of just this huge wooden box. There you can see the inside, and that's the artist right there. It's modular risers, and they can be moved around. As you can see here, we repurposed them for different reasons. And it was brought up that, is this related to relational aesthetics? And Breckenridge's response was he didn't feel that because with artists like Liam Gillick, they tend to be very sort of sleek and designy and pretty, but you don't see people using them very much for the conversations they're intended to have. And his was kind of more ugly and just, brown and more for the purpose of what it was built for rather than looking good. And then also that it was built for the specific purpose of this sort of colloquium of visiting artists and lecturers for workshops and discussions and so forth. This is in the parking lot of the other main location called the Loge, which you can see here. It's sort of a freestanding little building hut with a stairway to the roof where we would go and have the bar, where evening lectures would take place, or we'd hang out and have drinks, and that would be the more public events where everyone was invited to, like, say, a lecture by Bruce Hanley. And as you can see here, there's the little bar table, and so each night different people who were good at making drinks would make a specific drink, and it would be on sale. There's the modular risers again, but these were not movable. And I just really like the way the plants are just crammed in like that. So here we are. This is it during the day and the late afternoon during a public lecture. And the roof of the Loge, with one of the artists standing there next to our janky refrigerator that was well stocked by the beer sponsor. This is one of the fellows' presentations, and you can see how they presented a video installation, so the platforms were moved and so forth to insert the monitors. In midway through, we went on an excursion throughout Switzerland, and one of the places we visited was the Sitterwerk in St. Gallen, which is a fabricator for artists. See here the Chocolate Santa with Dildo by Paul McCarthy being let to decay naturally as chocolate does. Different views of the facilities there. This is an insane, awesome library that a local collector who passed away recently gave his 5,000 art books to start a library. Everything from early modernism up to fairly contemporary. So it's just one huge wall, and then you can see here this is like a platform, and the wall continues up another flight. And then across from it, so this is where the wall of books would be. There's this huge file cabinet that the fabricators are building called the Material Archive, which is basically samples of all the different sort of chemicals and wood and colored rubber and fabric and anything an artist would be interested when they're coming to them to do a project. They can come in and actually handle the material, see how it feels, see how it operates in the world, if it's stiff or rigid or whatever. This is a recent addition they did for Rudolf Stingel that's a sort of Baroque wood finish. I think it's either polychromed wood or plastic painted to look like wood. here you can see some Jeff Koons puppy boxes. One of them is actually a cardboard box from his famous toy type puppy vase, and the other is an aluminum replica made for the artist Subdo Gupta, whose show just opened in London, I think, kicking off the 09-010 major international exhibition scene. So they let us see the crate, and they let us touch everything. They're like, oh, it's still at the fabricator, so you can touch anything you want. And then finally, this is a Urs Fischer project. I believe it's Urs Fischer brought in this teddy bear and said, I want to make it 30 meters tall. And so they scanned it and made a computer model, and then this is an image of it as a public work. So they end up with a lot of stuff like that they have around to show visitors or part of their sort of collection, which I find really interesting because it's sort of this non-art status, like the Koons puppy box in the library is like, they had two of their like best painters do one, and then he picked which one he liked better, and then that person did the whole series. But then they kept this other one that they can't sell because they're not licensed to, and it's also not really art. It's sort of a reject. It's like a factory reject, but it's also like not trash either. And so I'm interested that they have all these sort of like half pieces of art laying around that they can show people. This is an image of Swiss domesticity and hospitality. Everywhere we went, everyone was excited to have people over to eat chocolate and drink spirits and talk about things. This is where the excursion continued to Appenzell. This is one of the Appenzell Biennial organizers, and we're in the house of Agata, and I have to look up her last name. I looked really hard to get it because everyone kept telling me and I kept forgetting it. Anyway, her name's Agata, and she's the unofficial cultural minister of Appenzell, they said, because she's been there forever, and she's very beloved by everyone, and opens her space up to anyone who visits, and has an amazing art collection, and is like very, Agata Nispla. She's very involved in the arts in Appenzell. And so there's a curator named Christiana Riccata, and then two artists. The one I pointed out is Emmanuel Geiser, and another one you'll see is Peter Stoffel. In 2002, they were hanging around at Documenta, one of the Documentas, and said, wow, there's all these platforms. There's organized biennials and platforms, and we should do one in Appenzell, because they're all from Appenzell, which is kind of this really quaint, picturesque town, or canton, which you may recognize as most of the photos Bruno Bischofberger Gallery has on the back of Art Forum are always sort of cultural photos taken of goings-on in Appenzell, because that's where he's from. So they decided to do their own platform, and so every 2 years there's the Appenzell Biennial, which is, it has one platform, one artist invited, and it's sort of a critique of that thing, but using that structure for this sort of interesting event. And this is the little shed outside Agata's house that she lets people do installations in and whatever. So we went in for a presentation explaining that sort of biennial story, and to see this framed picture, which is a picture of the mountain that we were to climb. And you can see here this little, I can get my mouse to work. This little white square represented the site of the 2009 Appenzell Biennial, which was an artist, actually I don't have the name of, was going to do a 10-meter square plantation of 1,500 Edelweiss, just packed really tight, which is sort of a cultural thing. And they approached the farmer who farms that land and has his goats and horses and his cows graze. And he thought it was a great idea. And then they got closer to realizing it, and his son said, wait, no, that's against God. You can't have that many Edelweiss in one place. Because the Edelweiss is a very rarely naturally occurring plant. They said probably